So a really cool person actually commented on our last video. They wanted us to talk about past partner history slash experiences and how that's helped us both understand what we're looking for, like prior to us meeting. So shout out to our friend.
Yep. Was it C4P?
C4P.
Shout out C4P, man. We appreciate you. Appreciate the question. I think with that kind of background, there's a lot of different directions we can take it. But what makes sense for me, at least, is really starting with the context to, I guess, how I got prepared for dating. Just to give you a little bit of history lesson. If you take it back to like high school, I was not really dating in high school. I mean, had interactions with women and stuff like that. But I think growing up in the church kind of hadn't changed my views on things, right? Like, just kind of idea of like waiting for marriage and this and that and like sexual morality. So I do think that kind of distorted my view on like how I engage with women. Maybe I was a little more shy. I think I was just a shy person in general. I had a relationship towards the tail end of high school, but it wasn't really anything special. It was like kind of young love or whatever. Like, so nothing that I would say was like super game changing for me. But what I will say is like when I got to college, like I started to expand a little bit more. You get a little bit of freedom when you get into college. So you start talking to people and, meeting new people. And I think it was really cool because I grew up in a small town and I went to a college that was very diverse. I went to Rutgers University in New Brunswick. And it's very diverse. That was one of the things that I liked about the college. It was close to New York City. So you got a very good mixture of people. So coming from a small town where I was predominantly white, I wanted a bit more diversity. So it was nice being at Rutgers, but I was also in engineering. So I didn't really have much exposure to women on like day to day. Like sure, within like the college campus and everything, yes. One of the big challenges was I was so busy like working on stuff and like racking up the student loan debt and whatnot. So I'm just focused on like, okay, I got to get out of school. And I was actually in college for 5 years too. So that also was like, okay, the money's racking up. I need to get out of here. So I wasn't really focusing just solely on dating. Sure, I spoke to some people, dated a bit, had one relationship in college, nothing too crazy once again. Some hookups here and there, but like nothing that was really defining. I would say the big turning point for me was when I got out of college, probably a few months after. Like I was doing a bit of like a random little job. Then I finally got like my real big boy job. And I'm like, all right, I'm the man now. I'm making some money. I'm paying my bills. And that's when I really started to kind of get into dating. So I would say a big thing for me leading up to feeling confident to date was really getting to a point where like I kind of had a good stability or stable foundation. And so that was a big change for me. So
what does your mom always say?
Oh, my mom would say like, no woman wants a broke man. So that was always like ingrained in my head. So for me, it was like, there was no question about it, right? It was like, I need to make sure that I have some money, have myself together, right? Before I go out there and start trying to chase women. Because I'll be honest, in college, I saw some people who were like chasing women. My first year, I was actually partying pretty hard, to be completely honest. And then my grades came in and I was like, oh yeah, this ain't gonna work. Cause like I was partying with people who weren't engineering. So
that's where you went, right?
Yeah. So they're like doing their thing. And then I'm the one who has to like, get into all this work. And so that was a big wake up call for me. So my first year, I think I was kind of lax and doing all the kind of stuff and like all that. But then I had a quick reality check and that's what was a big shift for me. And, I was like, okay, I need to get myself together. I'm at a very great university. Like I have great, an opportunity ahead of me. And it's like, how do I lock in and really, build a foundation for myself? The last thing I'll mention is, and maybe I shared this in a past video or whatnot, but my parents had some like financial challenges. They were both working at a company, went bankrupt. And so there was a lot of like instability financially, like growing up. So I think a bit of that trauma as well was something where I was like, I don't want that. I don't want to take that and just kind of, recreate that for my future.
Like generational cycles,
yeah. So like I knew it was important for me to kind of lay a good foundation. And if I'm going to date someone, with my mom's, quote sitting in the back of my head, I'm like, yeah, I need to get my money up, not my funny up, So that's just what it is.
Especially this day and age, right? Yeah. Imagine what people are going through this day and age, this economy. But yeah, you bring up a really interesting point about like your childhood, like background shaping your dating, experiences and everything. It's so true. Like we always like to look back on our childhood and just like really assess like what made us who we are and like what influenced us to choose the type of partners we did. In college, I actually originally I wanted to go to dental school. I was just naturally surrounded by a lot of like nerdy, smart, dorky people. Cool, dorky, I'm just saying. But just a lot of like studious people. So I didn't, like you, I didn't really have a whole lot of time to like date. Just because like when you're trying to get into dental school, the prerequisites, you gotta focus on your GPA. You gotta not do the bare minimum, and you gotta do all these extracurriculars and have all these things. It's interesting because in a college setting or in a school setting, you're just kind of like in this bubble. And it's easier to meet people because you typically can meet people in the same like majors or similar departments, or like you run into people taking the same general ed class. So I think it's just like a different world of for dating. Definitely it's like in a bubble. But yeah, I agree with you. I didn't really put that much time into dating. I just was so fixated on just like having a good time in college, making good friends. I did have one serious relationship in college, and we were working on trying to be like college sweethearts. Honestly, it was a bit of like a tumultuous relationship because of the distance after I moved back home. So I would say like it, with all things considered, I definitely say that was a big shift for me, just because that was when I moved back, I, naturally like my family was my everything. So I had to kind of, figure out, okay, do I compromise my family or do I compromise the relationship? And, it really, that actually shaped so much of who I was prior to meeting you, because I realized what was important to me. And like you said, like growing up with like Christian values, like my family background, I honestly think we jumped around a little bit. I don't think we were like Christian the whole time. Apparently, I learned that we were Catholic, but we could only find like a Korean Christian church, which was pretty much the closest thing we could find to a Catholic Korean community when we first came here. But I also grew up with those values. So, and my mom was kind of, I know she was very protective. And this is coming from my mom actually dated and married only one man. So,
hey, when you know, right? Hey.
And, there's nothing wrong with it. I just don't think she took the time to date. And it was a very different time period too.
Yeah, so, for sure.
Very different. But, through, despite some of the ups and downs that they've had in their marriage growing up, like I still saw them, stay together. I still witnessed them try to work together. And like, obviously fast forward to now, as they're aging, like I definitely see, because my mom is on hospice for dementia. My dad is taking really good care of her and just being there through thick and thin and really in sickness and health. But yeah, I would say with that in mind, I was a bit like, I don't want to say sheltered, but a little protected. And my mom always told me, like you, like to stay away from boys, and don't get too caught up with like dating and like just kind of giving your heart, giving your body up to so many guys and yada yada. So. One man, woman telling me, how I should think about dating relationships. Funny you mentioned the money thing.
Oh yeah.
And I don't think it's so much that you need to be like a millionaire and have all your finances together. But it's just one of those things where even like for me as a woman, like coming out of college, like I knew like I had more student debt. I didn't know a whole lot about credit because I didn't really have a credit history. I didn't really have a good sense of personal finance or investing for that matter until I actually met you. But I would say because of that, I too agree. I just didn't feel like I was in the right place to date. And then also coming out of my college relationship, I was so focused on family. I was so focused on getting my career up. Like I scrapped the dental school idea and I just started working for family business. And honestly, it was great. But I just honestly told myself, like, if I can't even take care of myself, how can I take care of someone else? Like, how can I, and mind you, I was also taking care of my mom, who her health was like at the max, like it was on the decline. So my mom really needed me. And in that time period, out of college, like I just didn't focus too much on dating. I just wanted to focus on myself, focus on getting my finances right, focus on my career. Also, like when you're in your 20s,
Mm.
you don't really know who you are. Like you
Yeah.
think you know who you are, but like, and you think you know how to choose a good partner.
Mm.
But I'd say like you're still figuring yourself out, whether you're a man or a woman. You're still figuring out your identity. You're figuring out your career. You're figuring
Yeah.
out your just like your place in the world. So I'd say like being in my early 20s and mid 20s, I honestly like I just didn't feel like I could make good choices in dating because I wasn't fulfilled with who I was just yet prior to me.
Yeah, I'll say like I think that's a really good point around just kind of figuring yourself out. Like I mentioned before, I had the relationship in college. It was actually with a girl who I knew from my church back home. So our parents were really good friends.
Oh, shoot.
And so, yeah, so, we always kind of were like, we would talk and stuff like that. We were really cool together, but she was a little younger than me, right? And
He likes him young.
and I was like, it was like, I think, so I was in maybe my second or third year of college, and she was just going into be freshman year. So there's probably like I think a 2 or 3 year age difference or whatnot. But we were cool. We always got along really well, and obviously it fit the like hallmark
On
or like
paper,
the ideal situation
families,
because the
like,
families were already close and stuff like that, and there was just some history there, and so as a result, like going to your point of you not really knowing yourself, you're kind of like, oh yeah, I think that's what sounds good, and like we got along, we were friendly, and we were really cool together, but I think as part of a relationship, that was just completely new grounds for both of us. Once she got to college, right, like that was a big shift. And I knew, because like by the time she got to college, I was kind of in my rhythm. Like I kind of started, I started to figure it out. I was like, okay, this is my schedule. This is what I need to do. These are the classes I need to hit.
You
and
guys both kind of.
Yeah.
You went to the same.
No. Okay. She went to different school. Yeah. And so like she was getting into college, and then, obviously she wants to get out, do her thing because, and once again, coming from like a Christian household, it's more sheltered and stuff like that. So you get a little freedom, and when you start doing your thing. And so that was a big shift for her. And then for me, like I was kind of past that, like going out, doing all the extra stuff. I'm like, I just want to focus, get out of college, keep it moving. Right. So there was a mismatch there. And then ultimately we broke up. One thing I will say that I sometimes kick myself for it because I can be a really headstrong person. But she got me tickets to an Eagles game because I'm an Eagles fan. She got me tickets to an Eagles game for Christmas. And we broke up before then. And so she hit me up and was like, oh, do we still want to go to the game? And I'm like, no, I'm not going to the game. Like, absolutely not. Like, because I was just like, I'm not trying to go back down that road. Kind of they were actually end zone seats. It was actually, I think it was really good seats. And on top of that, that wasn't even the worst part. The worst part was if you're a football fan and you follow the Eagles, I think it's called the Miracle in the Meadowlands. And it was apparently a game between the Eagles and the Giants. Now, I don't remember all the historical background, but, the Giants are a NFC East rival of the Eagles. And in that game, the game was, I think, tied up or they were down. There was a kickoff. And Deshaun Jackson ran the ball back for a touchdown like the last seconds of the game or something. So it was a close game, and I was like, dang. It was a part of Eagles history, and I missed it just because I'm like very headstrong and stubborn. Yeah.
But for good reason.
Yeah, for good reason.
Like, you're broken up. Like, you don't want to like convenience. Like.
Yeah, but that was a big thing, right? The reason why I tell you that story is because that was my level of conviction. I was like, I'm not going back. Like we broke up. I'm not going to, because I already knew what it was. If I go to the game, it's going to be all good. And like, oh yeah, this and that, we're going to have a good time. And then especially if I was at the game was really good. It's very easy to kind of slide back into that trap.
Yeah. Grab some ice cream.
So, I kind of saw that coming and it was, maybe it was maybe being stubborn or whatever case may be, but I really kind of shut that down. And, I think that also played a factor in how I viewed relationships moving forward. It was easier for me to kind of not just focus on solely the good, but look at things objectively and say, hey, is this, and I think that's really important. I think that's something that everyone needs to have. You need to understand your value, right? You need to understand what you're looking for. And that's an extremely important piece. So +1 to what you were saying on that front.
I feel like we all kind of go through those experiences where like in a relationship, you like certain things that you don't want to compromise on, or like don't want to give up, and then you're caught in between that and then the relationship. But there's something inside of you that like just it's like a gut feeling where you're telling yourself like, honestly, like this isn't for me. I need to stand on my ground, and I need to do what is right for me. And then that's really hard, especially for people who are just like, like it's hard to be alone. It's hard to sit in singlehood, especially like after all that history. But yeah, I wanted to like ask you, was there like how did you, like, what changed for you from like not dating a whole bunch of women to actually knowing how to date, like how to pick a good partner? Because that's important, like prior to meeting me.
Yeah, for sure. So I think the big shift for me was, being an engineer by trade, I'm always very curious. I think that's like one of my things is, and I got curious around, I knew I wasn't particularly great at like talking to women. So I was just naturally like, just trying to learn, like, okay, like, and YouTube is a great resource for that. I remember looking at like pickup artists, like that used to be like a thing back in the day, right?
Do you
like,
actually use any of those lines?
No. Like, so they would talk around like ideas of like how to approach women. Like some of these dudes, and I mean, some of it was probably fake too, like they
like
probably made it up. Yeah, it was all staged. Just like how they would approach a woman and just kind of start chatting and this and that, and like trying to find commonality. And like they would say like, oh, trying to introduce touch, but in a way that's not like creepy, right? So like, yeah, like you could do like little things, like you could, touch in the back or something, or you could be like, oh, like a high five or something, like just something like start to create touch so you don't feel so like distant. So it was like little things like you would pick up like little tips, and the goal was essentially making the woman feel comfortable, feeling safe, right? Like that's the idea. And so like things like that were really interesting because you kind of start to understand the psychology of a woman and like, okay, what's she looking for? What's important? How should you speak to them? If you're used to like being around a bunch of dudes, right? Like the ability to kind of be, right? It's like, it's different. So you got to be able to be gentle and softer and things like that. So it's just kind of trying to connect with the feminine, so to speak, right? But what I'll say, one of the big shifts that happened for me in particular was like, I was actually living in Savannah, Georgia. That's when I got like my first like real job. And so I was living there, and that's when I started like going out more with friends and exploring and doing all that jazz. We would go out, go out with my friends, and like you would, sometimes you go out and you get like no numbers, no play, nothing, right? So you're just like, man, that was rough. That was like a rough, like went out, got no numbers, wasn't able to talk to anyone. Like you're always kind of like telling yourself like, oh, well, like, I'd go talk to her, but like, I don't know if it's the right time. Like these are things that you kind of tell yourself. And then eventually I realized, I'm like, look, I have to be the initiator. I have to be assertive. And if I see someone, just go talk to them. And a big thing that was a shift for me, and it kind of went into my dating, was like when I would go out is just starting to chat with people, right? Like you talk to guys, talk to girls. It's like if you're in a bar or a club, you're kind of just like building a bit of a social circle there where you're interacting with different people. And it's like, it makes the place more familiar versus like, okay, I'm in here and I'm like looking around.
Only
like,
talking to women.
Yeah.
This is how you don't come off as creepy.
Yeah.
Like, you make it normal for you to talk to people in general, and you're not just targeting women.
Exactly.
Or, like standing in the the bar line where some guys like in a club or a lounge. All the
just
guys
standing
are
on
just
the side,
they have their like drinks and they're like their arms are like crossed over and they're just like creepily looking, scoping, or like trying to like not say anything but like do that weird hand thing, like trying to grab you. I was like,
or worse, I don't think they do it anymore, but like just like a girl dancing, you just like come up behind them.
And you're just like,
like
I'm just like, excuse me, sir.
It was some.
You want to ask me for my name?
Those were some crazy times back then. So
I don't know if that's what happened today.
Those are some wild times back then. But like, I think like graduating from that and kind of understanding when I would go out, it's cool because if you like go out somewhere, just like making conversation with people, like give someone a compliment, right? Like guy, woman, whatever, right? Like not really just focusing on solely trying to pick up someone, but like just going out there and having fun, because it almost like the law of attraction, so to speak, where like you kind of like when you're vibrating at a certain frequency, like you're carrying yourself in a certain way, people notice that.
They naturally gravitate towards you because you're not expecting the energy. You are the energy.
You're bringing it.
You're bringing the energy.
Yeah.
And that's very, like people are just naturally, man or woman, like people are just naturally attracted to that energy.
Exactly.
The charisma, right?
You have to bring that energy. You can't go into the dating market and think, oh, I'm going to find my missing piece and this and that, and everything's going to be great. It's like, you have to go there. You have to build up your life, put it in a position where like it feels good. You feel happy with like the life you created. You want to share that with somebody, right? And you're inviting them in to experience your world. So I think that's extremely important in my opinion, right? And like, that's something that I had to learn through that process. And like, when we would go out with that mentality, me and my friends kind of adopted that mentality, it completely shifted everything. We would have like the wildest nights, we would meet people and like, just meaning like you would meet people and then like people would like introduce you to other people and this and that because you were just having a good time. Yeah. And like you could be talking to a woman and then, you know, a dude that you just met earlier comes by, you just give him a fist bump or whatever, right? And then a media gives you a little bit of social proof. Because the woman's like, oh, like he knows people here, right? Like he knows people here, right? So
he's him.
Yeah. So like, you know, the little things like that. So it kind of builds up your confidence. And I think that's extremely important. And we've talked about this before, but confidence, at least for a guy, and obviously for women as well, like, you know, knowing who you are.
Yeah, perspective.
Yeah. Same. But it's extremely important. I think, you know, getting to a point where, when that can look different for different people, right? Like, working out, or it could be getting your money together. It could be just having your hobbies that you're doing, or whatever it is to you. It's important to kind of have that confidence. So obviously that was a huge shift for me, and I really recommend that to everyone. And it goes back to your point of what you were saying around like not knowing who you were. And I think like that's when I started to realize, okay, like I want to bring that energy. I want to be that person. I don't want to be here waiting for someone to get me pumped or like waiting for some woman to select me. I'm like, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to do it. I'm going to make it happen. So that was a huge shift.
It's also a big part from like my perspective as a woman, not all women, but I don't want to speak for all women, but for me, I think that is one of the most attractive qualities that I found in you is the energy and this is the charisma. And honestly,
you do a little too much at times, but
only when we're drinking.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's a different story.
Old habits die hard. But, you know.
But, you know, for the most part, like, I appreciated it because I think this is what, you know, women talk about when we say, like, we want a man who's, like, assertive, a man who, a healthy man, healthy masculinity, where you can take initiative. And you don't have to, you can be the shyest guy in the room, but you have a bit of a confident energy to you where you're not coming off desperate. You're not coming off like expecting something and like your day's ruined because a woman didn't say yes to dancing with you or didn't give her number or, you know, didn't want to entertain you. But it's just that energy. It's the confidence.
When you're going out, a little bit of liquid courage never hurt anybody. So you have a few drinks, you're feeling good, you start dancing, start doing your thing. But I think a lot of those things were kind of in me already. It's just like, there's that, for me, my mind's always running. And I think that's what keeps me a bit more introverted is like, I'm thinking about like, how am I being perceived or this and that, or whatever the case may be. You kind of know what feels natural to you. I don't think you should go out there and try to be like this playboy and do all this extra stuff. Like, don't put on an act. That's not really becoming. Like, you don't want to try to be someone you're not. I think it's really just realizing that people are looking to have a good time. I think there's simple things like that is if you think something would be a good time, it's okay to suggest it, to talk about it. And I think you'd be surprised that people will kind of match that energy and be like, oh, wow, that person's kind of fun or this and that. So I think to me, it was kind of like trusting myself a little bit. Like we all kind of have that inner voice or that like, oh, it'd be cool if we could do this or it'd be cool if we could do that. But a lot of times you kind of talk yourself out of doing something or like you get in your head. So it's like, I feel like a lot of people think, oh, I got to do this. I got to add this. I got to add that. And honestly, the key is like less is more. It's like subtracting that those negative voices that are telling you that's not this or this and that. And if you do something and maybe it doesn't get received right or whatever it case may be, you can learn, you adapt, right? And I think once again, being like an engineer and kind of like in the research type of thing, it's like, okay, I did that. Did it work out well? Did it not work out well? What did I learn from it? And like, you know, you're not sitting down here with a notepad per se, but like you kind of understand, all right, like that didn't go quite how I expected. You make adjustments. And I think it really just comes down to trusting yourself. Sounds cliche, but just like roll the dice a little bit, bet on yourself sometimes, and just like, you know, go out there, have fun, right? And you define what that fun looks like. And when you kind of start that, people will catch that wave and they'll ride it with you. So.
And sometimes it's just one of those things that come with time. And I'm not going to sit here and say that you can't find the love of your life and the perfect partner in your early 20s or I'm fresh out of high school. There are couples who do it. So shout out to them. But for us, like what really helped prepare ourselves prior to meeting each other is just like working on ourselves. Like I know that's again, cliche, but it's like, it's one of those things that do come naturally with time and life experiences. And, you know, because life will life, and you go through different experiences, loss and grief, you know, changes in your career, like job transitions, and, you know, just so many things in life can come up, and each experience shape who you are and who you become, and all those things do matter on how you perceive yourself, and also how you perceive what you deserve for a partner in a relationship. It's something just naturally comes with time, and it's, you know, you make a really good point about just embracing that, because I think it's easy to be afraid of that, be afraid of change, be afraid of trying new things. And biggest thing for me personally was just like just staying authentic to yourself.
Yeah.
And I know that's a lot easier said than done, but the more authentic you are to yourself, the better, because I truly believe that God plays something so unique in each and every person. Each person has a superpower, and each person is like extraordinary at something that you can't like just compare with someone else's. Like, it's just, each individual is just so unique, and every person brings something very unique to the dating market. And you know, with that, I'll say, like, the more you like hone in on that, the honestly, I would say the more better positioned and equipped you are to finding a person that is compatible for you. So.
Yeah, it takes courage, right? Like, you're gonna be fearful. You're going to feel like, oh, I might get my heart broken, or this might happen, or what if they say this, or what if someone rejects me? But like that, you have to kind of just charge through it. Like, that's just really what it is. There's no easy way around it. And that's life, you know? So that's the last thing we'll leave you with. Catch you in the next one.